my sales time. Gonna bust up your behind. This is my sales time.
Welcome to episode 5 of Deathmatch Wrestling for Dummies, aka me. As always, I'm here with Mr. Radu Bulat as he continues my education in the ways of deathmatch wrestling from somebody who appreciates the art form to an uneducated person as myself. So we are now on episode 5. I am learning. I'm starting to pick stuff up. I'm starting to appreciate some of the finer points within the beautiful carnage that is deathmatch wrestling.
Hi. As we said, like before the recording started, I do have a slight announcement that I want to make. This is mainly about something that happened. Currently it's the 2nd of April at the time of this recording, and about 2.5 weeks ago in Sheffield, we had the ICW NHB weekend with Rise and ICW NHB from America. Now, as far as the quality of the shows go, absolutely incredible. Both companies put on stellar performances on both nights. Cannot say anything bad about it. Nothing necessarily abnormal or nothing necessarily like bad happened. But the one announcement that I have to kind of make, I know that the audience here is kind of like a little bit mixed, but there was some mainstream media journalists who decided, because they'd seen some of the stuff, especially the match between Iceman and Jack Harrop, the father and son team, who've put on some really stellar matches, across the country and even across the pond in America. They continue to like set new standards as far as the actual as far as this particular genre of wrestling is concerned. The mainstream media have taken it upon themselves, or at least these particular journalists have decided to kind of use this as a platform to basically just get a lot of negative press about wrestling in general. And they made allusions to a particular incident involving a promotion, which I'm not going to mention, in CM, who from our little community did the most stupid thing that you could do and decided to do deathmatch spots in the middle of a family-friendly show. Now, Iceman and Jack Harrop had been on the Cultaholic podcast, and they cleared the air with a lot of issues. And they've already said their piece, and I've completely agree with everything they've said, and I don't think I can add anything else. Besides the obvious, the fact that modern journalists are the scum of the earth, and fuck those people for trying to get our industry talk shit about our industry and our particular genre of wrestling. So yeah, fuck them. So now that we've got negativity out of the way, I can't even say my words properly now for some reason. Let's get on with the what we came here for. What do we call this particular episode again? I forget.
It was no ring, no problem.
No ring, no problem. Right. No, I'm going to need a drink about this because I have a slight anecdote that I have to tell. All right. So anyone who knows me knows that I was trained by Keith Myatt, the absolute gentleman that he was from Stoke. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about him. And so when I was training with him, he told us a story about a show that he was at. I believe this is definitely back in the 80s when he was first starting out. But he worked a show, and for one reason or another, the ring didn't show up. So they didn't feel like having to give the punt to have a wasted night. So they decided to do the entire show on just mats, just like the type of mats that you would get at any martial arts school. So they had to adapt things as it were. Because also remember back in those days, the style that they used was very low impact. There was a lot of rolling bumps and just working holds and things like that. It didn't really change all that much, in all honesty. In fact, it probably made it better in some ways. There was one particular match involving a certain wrestler by the name of Mississippi Mauler, who some of you World of Sport nerds will probably remember it as being the ring name at the time of the wrestler known as Giant Kamala, also known as Jim Harris. He was on the card as a heel, and he did his usual stuff where he got on the mic and he did his usual get work the Gaga, because that's just kind of how Kamala did. And then the first move that he did was an Irish whip into the non-existent ropes. Well done, man. Well done. I'm pretty certain that had to be a rib, because there's just no way. There's no way.
It's great.
Yeah. Though I will also say this as well. Although not a lot of other matches that we're going to be putting on today that I presented to Nick are kind of like somewhat modern, no ring matches aren't necessarily anything new. They've been around for a while. Not just like kind of like a one-off novelty whenever the ring didn't show up, but to the best of my there's two things. To the best of my recollection, the first person who originally started like having like matches on mats as their own gimmick was a Japanese wrestler by the name of Survival Tabita, whose T-shirt I'm wearing right now. It's a really old one. It's a bit manky, but I've had this literally for about. I think I must have had this for about 2 decades. I bought it on this like. I think I bought it off like this like third-rate website, and I'm genuinely surprised that I actually received it, but. Yeah, it's been an interesting like addition to the back of my wardrobe, and hasn't been worn for a number of years. So I'm genuinely surprised I'm still fitting it. But yeah, his gimmick was basically that of a dude who fought against monsters with dramatic music and did hardcore matches on mats. And there's put his name into YouTube, and you'll find a lot of really interesting old VHS footage of him. I mean, they're terrible matches, but they're very terribly entertaining. I will tell you right now.
Be fantastic.
Yeah, like it's indie sleaze, but really, really funny indie sleaze. And also the first thing that people are going to think of whenever they see no ring matches is probably the old WF hardcore division, when they used to have like skits of Crash Holly like going out to playpens and hotels and fast food restaurants and having to defend his hardcore title when it was in the 24/7, when they had the 24/7 gimmick put on it. But also, this is more modern body cam footage. Like anytime you see like a body cam footage of police or like any security whenever a fight breaks out in a nightclub, you can kind of like see the comparison to that, but it's also it's its own little thing,
And it works when it's done. I enjoyed 85% of the matches you sent me over. The first one totally blew my mind. Obviously, like I said, we're on episode 5 now. I didn't expect to get to talk about a Zack Sabre Jr. match at any point during this series, so I was very, very glad when you sent this one over. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Chucky T. It was just not very deathmatchy. It was still just a technical masterclass by Zack, but no ring, so it qualifies. So man,
I picked this one for 2 reasons. Number one, because it presented the best of New Fear City, which is the promotion in New York that's run by Casanova Valentine, who's made a career out of doing these like no ring matches. To the best of my recollection from the interviews I've seen, Cass is pretty open. You can talk to him like as easy as anyone else, and he's genuinely a really good guy. I think he started New Fear City as kind of like a one-off event, because his job before he started like making more of a career out of like wrestling was he was a bouncer in a lot of clubs around New York, in between his like wrestling bookings. And in one particular venue, they were having like this. He was asked to like help participate in this theatre project, and I think it was called something like DeathMatch, a pro wrestling tragedy. And it was basically he put on a death match in this like hipster bar with with someone that he knew, and I went off from there. And Now, if you know anything about New York, you know that it has a very notoriously strict athletic commission. Like any shows that you see in the New York area, they generally will have mats on the ringside area, and they're not allowed to bleed. Like, if any event that someone does end up blading or they end up getting hardware or something like that, the athletic commission steps in and stops it straight away. And this is something that's been going on for literally decades. And I don't, at least to the best of my understanding, it's not going to get they're not going to get relaxed anytime soon. So there are ways to get around this, which I'm not going to mention. I do know about them, but Cass has pretty much negotiated his way through all this stuff. And I can't say enough good stuff about Cass as a person, especially as a businessman, for being able to do this stuff. And he's been able to go across the entire country and even across even across to other countries as well, not just like UK, but he even did one in Thailand of all places. Somewhat recently, I think it was a no ring match. Anyway, he gets around. I don't know how he does it. But yeah, definitely a really good match. And I thought I should introduce this one to you because plenty of very fun spots. I especially love the armbar and the bar.
Yes, and picture will pop up in a minute of that. That is one of the bits. Oh, it's on the. I think I put it on the intro graphic. If not, I've got the picture ready. But yeah, Zack's even like, "Well, look, it's an armbar on a bar." But I like it at the start because he's like, "I don't even know how to start this." You get this whole thing at the start where they're just kind of like looking at each other, and Zack's like, "I don't know how to start this. I don't know what's going on." And it's like, yeah, crack on. I suppose just lock up and see what happens. But
yeah, both of them are like absolute world-class wrestlers anyway, so you were going to get a good match either way.
Yeah. But I think that's what made it as well, though. That's what kind of made it more. It was the dialogue between every now and again they would just stop and just have like a little bit of a conversation. Like at one point, I think Chucky did something to Zack, and Zack was like, "Come on, man, I thought we were mates." And then next thing you know, Bosch trading blows again, sitting on the bar stools, just drinking a beer, have a beer, drink a beer, have a beer, drink a beer.
Yeah, stealing each other's beer. I genuinely laughed at that spot. It's like something you'd expect like two mates to do that were trying to wind each other up.
That's it. And the bit with the on the bandstand as well. Obviously, when Zack's got his head against the bass drum, and Chucky T just slams down that pedal. It's like, oh, right in the ear. But yeah, this was a total change of pace, but a really good introduction kind of thing. So it kind of gave me that kind of like, okay, I kind of know what to expect. I'm dipping my toes in the pool here. I'm kind of getting the best example of this is a no ring situation. As you said, this is two world-class wrestlers. Right, let's go from here kind of thing. So obviously, as I always say, I will put the link to every match in the episode description. So if you want to go watch what we're talking about afterwards, go in the description. The links will be there.
I'd really recommend anyone. I'd really recommend watching any of New Fear City's like full shows as well from start to finish. Not all the matches are like death matches. Some of them are comedy matches. Some of them are like hard man matches of people just like the expression like big meaty men slapping meat is often thrown around. Also, they have go-go dancers as well, which is always a good time as well. Like I say, New Fear City is something that I think is probably best enjoyed live as well. So if you ever find yourself in New York and Cass happens to be putting on a show, by all means, buy a ticket.
Go enjoy. But yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this. It kind of definitely whetted my appetite. And I can't remember the order that I watched. This is the problem because I watched all the matches in one day, so they're kind of fresh. I very easily forget what kind of order I've watched them in. So I will let you lead me again. What was the second one?
I believe the next match in the list that I sent you was Lou Nixon versus Joel Bateman versus Mickey Knuckles. I believe this was last year. This match took place.
This mind.
I remember this specifically because Lou referred to it as the orgy death match. Though after having watched it, I think I'd more mentally refer to it as a Craigslist death match.
Or the human centipede deathmatch, or
that's that as well. That is the spot of the match. That is genuinely the spot of the. That is genuinely the one thing that people are going to think about when they see this match because I don't know. I can't remember specifically who they use. I recognized a few of the faces, but most of these guys are from this promotion or this group called POR. I think a lot of them used to be stunt guys, or at least the person who runs the whole thing used to be a stunt man. Like they're kind of like somewhat micro indie, but a lot they get around quite a bit around the East Coast, and it was this. I chose this specifically because I loved the whole visual of doing this match on the disco floor. Like the lighting of the disco floor as it's like coming up kind of like gave a lot of different impression. Like whenever you watch like any regular wrestling match, the lights are coming down onto it. It kind of like creates the different shadows. Seeing the light coming up and like casting on the wrestlers' faces and everything, it kind of like presented everything in different light. It's like a different color scheme, like whenever you've watched like a movie or something like that, and you decide to mess with the brightness or the contrast or something like that, it creates this whole different vibe about it that I just found really artistically interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say it's just ironic the the whole centipede segment is because I'd literally just finished like doing a Planet Wrestle reel, and it was of a match, and in that match they had a human centipede spot. I've literally gone from human centipede at Planet to human centipede deathmatch style, and it was just like.
Yeah, well, for Planet Wrestle, that's a family-friendly one. This one, it's the 18+ version.
Yeah,
thankfully, thankfully, no one gets any private parts out in this one, except Joel Bateman, who works the half of the entire match with his arse hanging out. But that was deliberate. And like I said, there's a reason why it's referred to as the orgy / Craigslist death match.
And a Hulk hand wrapped in barbed wire is a genuine first for me that I've never seen. I never thought I would see, in all fairness. But poor Joe gets a Hulk smash up the tush whilst it's wrapped in wire. Just
Joel Bateman is genuinely an underrated talent as far as like just wrestling in general, and I think I really should do. I really should give you more matches of Joel because he is genuinely a really good worker.
He's Australian as well, so obviously
he's Australian. Australia is unfortunately kind of a dark area as far as like wrestling in general. I mean, unless you're actually from Australia, but Australia and Canada as well are kind of like somewhat the same in the sense that like they can be kind of their own island, which is kind of sad when you think about it because there's so many good people, both of those places.
But I obviously, I was hyped as well. 5 episodes in, Big Lou finally turns up. We get to talk about a Big Lou match, and this was, like I said, this just when you sent me over the list. Obviously, we've had Mickie Knuckles on a few episodes now. Matches. I think the last 2 episodes we've watched one of her matches. For me, I saw her name and Big Lou in there, and I was like, oh, I can't even. My mind just went. I can't imagine the carnage. And then obviously you throw in ECW alumni Jasmine St. Clair into the mix as well, and it's like,
oh yeah,
wow.
Yeah, this match pretty much has everything you want. It is literally an orgy of violence. I'm just coming up with all the bloody puns now, aren't I?
In the best possible way. Like I said, we've gone from Zack Sabre Jr. and Chucky T no rings to this, and it didn't feel like opposite ends of the spectrum. They were both really, really good, really enjoyable, but obviously in totally opposite different ways. But because of the no ring element, that was it. It felt similar in a sense, as much as it could do. So
I enjoyed that one.
I think it was a good progression. There was a match later on that I got halfway through and I couldn't watch it. Well, I'll tell you about that one when we get there, kind of thing. It was just
Okay.
I want to say it's Gangrel next.
Yeah, it's the Casanova Valentine versus Gangrel match from Circle 6. Yeah. So what do we think of this one?
I personally loved it. Any match that has continuous Lost Boys references in there. He's being portrayed as one of the Frog Brothers, obviously Gangrel. There's just, the dude even comes out to the Lost Boys music. The first guy. One of the songs from Lost Boys. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked all the little niches. Dude, I can only imagine you would appreciate, the holy water. Gangrel,
absolutely. It's that spot with the holy water waterboarding is probably going to get used on me at some point in my life. So I may as well appreciate the irony and stuff like that. I'm probably setting myself up by saying that, but that and also the skewer with the cross as well, which there's just so many bloody hilarious references to Lost Boys in this match. It's like this is pretty much like me down to a T. I
don't have a bad word to say about this match. Really, you go into it, it's fun. Like I say, the quote in Lost Boys, it's just Gangrel. It's just always weird seeing Gangrel outside of WWE. That's kind of obviously so pivotal. He's so iconic, really. At that time in the Attitude Era, when you see him, I'm like, we've got old. It's kind of obviously I know it's just time, but it's just like Gangrel got old.
Yeah, I've been told that I look young for my age. Like I've told you before, I'm going to be turning 40 next year. I know I don't look it, but I am. But I suppose maybe I think it a bit too much. But anyway, that's me just being that's just me just being silly. Anyway, I especially love the finish for this one because I don't know. You've got to have those moments,
It was two people who knew exactly what they were doing. They were telling the story. They had the characters down to a point, and the crowd was so into it as well. It was just, everything kind of clicked on this one. On paper, it shouldn't have been as enjoyable as it was, I don't think. Or, if you try to explain it to somebody, they'd look at you really confused. But if you watch it and you don't have a smile on your face at the end of this one, I'd be very, very surprised.
Yeah, well, both of them are great characters, so you can't expect anything less than the best.
No, definitely highly recommend this one. There's not really too much to say about it, though. That's the thing. It's just a good, fun match with a few good moments. Like I said, the waterboarding thing, the holy water. Just go watch it. That's all I'll say about this one. I'm also very cautious that we have we have a rumble to talk about at some point as well. So
thankfully that's not going to be not the next one. We've got a few that we've got to go through at this point. I think the next one, I'm just looking at the list now. Rene Dupree versus Warhead from No Ring North in Canada.
I had to
short match, but
I got probably 2 minutes into it. The editing, the music, the video quality, I couldn't watch it.
Yeah, to be fair with you, this particular promotion is very niche, and also the fact that it was performed outside and during a thunderstorm, and also it's a clipped match as well.
Yeah.
It can be a little bit niche and all that, but I just included this one because I just like the novelty of seeing a former WWE superstar like Rene Dupree in this type of match. And apparently from what I recall with some of the clips that I've seen of him on that podcast that he does with Paul London, I think he's had a few people on as well. He's surprisingly really open-minded about different styles of wrestling. This is not something that he would do on the regular, but he does have an appreciation for a lot of different things. He's literally after he left WE, the E, he went to All Japan. He did all sorts of stuff, and I don't know. He seems like the type of person that you could have a really interesting conversation with as well, from what I've seen. So I can't like. I decided I want to include this one because it was just interesting to see a name like that do this style of match.
Almost, but it got my attention when you sent it over, and I really wanted to watch it. Because I've seen a lot of stuff, like you said, with him since he left. He seems a very cool guy. Like I said, very open, just kind of like he appreciates wrestling in all of its beauty, kind of thing. He loves every aspect of it, or he appreciates every aspect. And yeah, I wanted to like this match. I wanted to watch this match. I don't know. Kind of. I think I was on the verge of having a seizure or something at one point. I was like, no, right.
Well, hopefully some people will look at it and they'll think differently. But that's just that.
That's just
I
me.
included it before.
I'm not obviously, I'm not saying it's bad. I would, even if I don't like something, I won't say it's bad. It's just not to my liking. Obviously, go check it out. You might love it. It's takes all. Everybody likes different things. That's fine. Don't be put off by me saying I couldn't watch it. Go check it out. If you can watch it, enjoy it. If you can't, you know what I'm talking about.
It's only 7 minutes of your life.
Exactly. Imagine what you could do in 7 minutes, 2 or 3 times. Yes. What was next? I
don't think that's encouraging. But then again, it just might be the way my mind just went into the guts of that whole thing anyway. So. Never mind. Ignore me. Let's get on to the next match.
And that's the time it includes to eat the pizza afterwards. But yes, the next match.
I'm just looking at the list. Dominic Denearo versus Gabriel Sky from New Fair City. I
watched all this by mistake because the link was for the full show and I didn't realise. So I just watched the first match that came on. I obviously didn't look at the name. I just clicked on the link in the mess and it was somebody, I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody versus Colby Carino.
Oh, yeah.
Just random fact for you, but I didn't even know Steve Carino's kid was a wrestler, and just as
he's been around for a while.
He's very good.
Yeah,
he's very, very...
Colby. I mean, I know we're deviating from the script a little bit, but then again, it involves wrestling. We do a lot of things on the fly. But yeah, Colby Carino's been around for a good number of years. And he's actually dipped his foot in death matches occasionally, but he is almost exactly like his dad. He's like a modernized version of how his dad used to be,
But when I saw it, I didn't see the name at first. I saw the jacket. It says Prince of Old School, and I was like, can't call himself. But that's just. I was like, well, is he like Carino's the king of old school? And then obviously the name came up at the bottom. I was like, oh, okay, there we go. That makes sense now. Why he's the Prince of Old.
Yeah, he's genuinely really good.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people typically when they think of second and third generation talent, they kind of think, oh yeah, he's nothing like his dad. Nah, Colby is every bit as good as his dad was. Whether or not, I mean, I don't want to I don't want to say that whether or not he'll be as good as his dad, because his dad set the bar fairly high for indie wrestling, and he's continually done a lot of good work over the years, and Colby just keeps going from strength to strength. So, I mean, I don't want to. I mean, we can't really judge it by the same standard. I mean, at least not the same standard that we would judge a Bill Watson and Eric Watts.
Well, fingers crossed for him. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Really. I mean, I probably won't be around. By the time that he reaches his peak, but I don't think that we've reached peak Colby Carino just yet. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does. Anyway, let's get back onto the actual match, which you should have watched.
Yes,
you should have watched, good sir.
I did. I did.
Yeah,
dude. This was the one that I was on about beforehand, where we talked before hitting record, and I said one of the matches. Again, no besmirchment on both guys. Worked their absolute arses off, and the fact that either of them was still standing 30 seconds before the end of the match is a testament. This match felt long. This match felt too long.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but also keep in mind it's a main event. Both of these guys had a program going on, they had a long-standing feud. So obviously, they felt that they should really step up to their plate for a little bit. And also the outside of like all this like no ring stuff, both Dominic Denearo and Gabriel Sky are two genuinely really good wrestlers from the New York scene. Like, they're really underrated. It surprises me that I haven't seen these guys on like further afield. But yeah, if you feel like it went on a bit long, okay, fair enough.
But
Some
no,
other people might think otherwise, but I thought to include this because I remembered watching this and I was thinking, yeah, this is actually really good.
yeah. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not.
And
I'm not saying
they both look like wrestlers as well. I know it's a bad stereotype that most deathmatch guys don't look like wrestlers, but no, these guys actually do look like the guys that you could see working full time. And I will say this: Dominic Denearo, he looks and dresses like my dad did during the '80s. Though obviously, Daddy Bulat had a lot darker skin, but yeah, I really love the character. I love his character as well. I can't say enough good things about Dominic Denearo, and I really, really hope that people, watching this will go on and check out some of his other stuff because he is a really good dude.
Oh, they put on a match. Don't get me wrong. Like so said, and if it is the end of a feud, that warrants the time. Obviously, I'm coming into it just watching this one match. So for me, I was a bit like, whoa, I expected it. When you just kind of like, after this bit, it's going to be done. After this bit, it's going to be done. Like, no, right, they keep it. They're still going. They're still going. But there was lots. I think that's just a testament, though. Maybe that's a compliment in a sense because 10 minutes, 15 minutes into it, they were hitting stuff, and you was just like, "This has got to be coming to an end now, man. It can't get any more intense than this." And then it did get more intense. So it's like, "Oh shit, okay, right, we're still going, right, okay, no, we're still going." And there was lots of moments in this match where I was just genuinely like, "Oh damn, that was just." Horrific, but in the best kind of way. It was just Dominic was an absolute just crimson mess by the end of it.
Yeah,
that flying
like
kick off.
He puts in 110% every single time. I really hope that more people will know about him, especially Gabriel as well. Like, absolutely the best.
Gabriel hits like I will say this, but one of the most beautiful flying kicks I've ever seen in a wrestling match. He just goes running to off the Dominic sat on the chair, and he just runs and he jumps and he just hits like a Bruce Lee style flying kick. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, that's one of the reasons why I sent you that match.
But no, don't be discouraged. Go watch it, but go into it expecting just a good battle, a lengthy battle. And you'll enjoy it. Like I said, I just think because some of the matches that we'd watched prior to this, as you sort of said, you even said yourself, most of them are fairly short. They're like 10, 12 minutes long. So obviously that's I've set that time frame in my head. I then watch this match and I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, watch it. Expect a battle and you will thoroughly enjoy it. That's what I will say. Again, it's huge. I think this was the biggest surface people had to work in up to this point that we've seen, because this wasn't just like a floor in a bar or club. This was like an outside kind of venue, arena kind of thing. And those guys,
some sort of there's a variety of different venues that New Fear City has done. They started off in just like doing it in like the back end of bars, like these like punk bars in the middle of New York and Brooklyn. But then they started moving out onto like concert halls and places like that. Some of the names that of the venues are kind of spacing out on me at the moment, but they are some of them that they've done are really genuinely really beautiful venues.
Yeah. These guys must have walked a mile between, just doing what they were doing in the wrestling match, just walking around kind of thing. They had so much space to work with. And one of the things I liked about this one as well is they kind of incorporated, obviously, the pillars. So, what I would call as being like the turnbuckle spots. The moves that I hit in the corner, they kind of incorporated the standing pillars into those moments. So, like somebody was leant up against the pillar, hell over kick straight to the face, or they were just banging their heads back into the pillar. and little things like that I just thought were very, very cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you eventually came around to it, even though it was fairly lengthy. But as I said before, it's a feud-ending match. You can kind of expect things to go a little bit longer than usual.
Now you've said that,
sure.
Appreciate it. I understand why. Now you've told me that, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's not a bad thing in that sense. I can kind of
now you understand.
So
shall we move on to the next one?
I believe this is the one that you have to tell me about because I didn't actually.
All right. Necro Butcher, or MAGA Butcher, as he was known at this point, versus Dilfboi from XPW's Theatre Brutality 3. This was done, I believe it was at American Cheeseburger in Rochester, New York. I believe it's the business has since closed down, I think. But Dilfboi, also known as Dalton Charles, and I've included this specifically because I know that when some people are going to be listening to this, that are kind of in the know, they're going to hear it and they're going to be like, "Ah, yes, I remember this. This was fucking hilarious." Dilfboi. Dilfboi was a person with tremendous heat in the worst possible way for the most understandable of reasons. And we're not just talking about, poor etiquette or, being a mark for yourself or anything like that. He booked people on his show, which I believe it was called something like Find Yourself Wrestling or something like that. And he had some really big names. But he had a habit of booking people to these shows and then running off without paying them, which is the biggest piece of shit move that you can do in wrestling outside of stuff that I probably shouldn't mention on a recorded podcast. But, there's plenty of Me Too allegations and things like that. In fact, there probably are some Me Too allegations that were thrown his way at some point, but I don't have the time or interest to search on it. I've just got to assume that he's done a lot worse than I actually know at this point. The only thing you need to know about Dilf is he's a fucking backyarder. And I think he did get used on a backyard show for GCW during the lockdowns where he got absolutely annihilated by Schlack. And Schlack was actually the commentator, or the compare, as we refer to them here, for this particular show. And he absolutely rinsed Dilf completely during this match. So yeah, basically, by all means, watch it if you want to get a good laugh. But Necro's as old school as you can get. He has his own views about stuff, and for the most part, I can agree with them. I can understand them. But I think Necro came into this match wanting to prove it. I have no idea what the conversation must have been between Necro and Dilf before this match happened, but I'm imagining that Necro probably didn't particularly like the way that Dilf conducted himself. So he decided that he was going to, do what needed to be done. And as the tattoos on his knuckle said, "Look around, find out." And Dilf certainly found out.
You sent me various butcher matches on previous episodes. I know the dude's legit. I know you hold him in such high regard for a reason. Is the last person I can imagine you'd want to piss off or jerk around or be disrespectful to.
Yeah, from what I've heard, he's genuinely a really, really nice guy outside of the ring. He's a guy who you can sit down, with a spread and just have a drink and just have a laugh about stuff, talking about wrestling, old school wrestling especially. And he's genuine. There's a reason why he's Seth Rollins' favorite wrestler. I'm not even joking. Seth Rollins on the WWE, I believe it was the WWE website, just one of them. He referred to Necro Butcher as his favorite wrestler. So that obviously says something about him as a performer and as a character.
Yeah.
And if you're going to basically, disrespect someone like Necro, who's been around for a while, and has even beaten cancer, he's beaten lymphoma. made like a comeback, a godlike, almost miraculous comeback. It says a lot about Dilf, the fact that Necro, did what he did. And frankly, I'll be honest with you, it couldn't have happened to a more deserving person.
Right, so yeah, go check that out. I will go check that out.
Yeah, like if you like, it's not a good match or even a great match, but
now you know the story.
Sometimes when you know that someone deserves something, you just kind of look at it with a bit of Schadenfreude.
Yep. So
I'm pretty sure I fucked that expression up, but either way, watch it, enjoy it. Let's go on to something a little bit more happier.
Yes, I was going to say, yeah, from that to the next one, if it is what I think it is, which I'm pretty certain it's Myles' dad. Or is it Jack?
No, it's the one no ring match from Japan that we have.
Jack Bennett.
Toshiyuki Sakuda versus Jack Bennett from the D.I.E promotion, which is the best name that you can have for a deathmatch promotion. It stands for something like Deathmatch Innovation Element. So when Jack came. Then when me and Jack were chatting with each other, and he had one like the T-shirts that he got on there, the innovation was misspelt. First edition of T-shirts. Let's just say we both had a laugh about that. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about Jack Bennett as a wrestler, as a performer. I really, really hope. I'm an old fucker, but I really hope that this guy goes on to do a lot of stuff, especially like in America, especially in Japan. He's already done, I think he's done 2 or 3 tours of Big Japan so far, and yeah, he's just been going from strength to strength. But yeah, so we need some background about this particular match. This is actually Jack Bennett's first death match, and he apparently got this booking whilst he was on holiday in Japan with, I believe he was with Jack Spade. I forget his. He was on holiday in Japan with Jack Spade. They're both mates from the Fight Factory promotion, and he spent most of that holiday just hanging around with Drew Parker and a lot of other people. This is when Drew was on a bit of a break, and yeah, he just managed to get the attention of a lot of the Japanese guys, and they just thought, oh, this guy actually speaks Japanese. Fucking hell, we could, and he wants to do death matches as well. Fucking hell, we could use him. And yeah, at least as far as I remember, Bennett said that they called the entire match out there in Japanese. To be fair with you, if I went to like Romania and I started working some of the guys there, I imagine I probably would work the match and just call it stuff to them in Romanian. So it's like, right, fair enough. By all means, go for it. What did we think of this match?
I enjoyed it. I've just recently seen Jack Bennett at NCW when they did their debut show in Leeds. He was against Isaac North, so I know I've seen Jack in person. This match, it was weird. I enjoyed it, but it was very weird in the sense of the location, like the freaking little square caged off fenced area, and there seemed to be like 10 people in the audience just sat there with the phones just kind of like just filming it. It just looked it was weird.
Yeah, D.I.E, a lot of the bar shows that the D.I.E promotion do. I mean, they've done venues a lot bigger than this since then, and I believe they've started using a ring as well. I might be misremembering some of this stuff, but a lot of their early shows were done without a ring. We'll also keep in mind it's in the middle of, I believe it was, I can't remember which district of Tokyo it is, but it's in the middle of Tokyo, which is one of the most built-up places there is in Japan and in Southeast Asia as a whole. So a lot of the bars that they have there are very very compacted. So it really doesn't surprise me that they weren't able, at least for this particular venue, they weren't able to get that many people in there. I imagine that, yeah, it was a really good match for the circumstances that are in. And let's be honest, everyone's first time is always going to be embarrassing. But honestly, I think I say embarrassing. Everyone's first time isn't always going to be the what they expect it to be, but Bennett knocked it out of the park in this one, and I can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah. Again, I was just pointing out, like, just the uniqueness of the location. The match itself was awesome, and it's testament how well they worked it in such a sort of enclosed area kind of thing. It was very much lots of very cool spots. The wooden crates, the stick. It was just like, and Bennett obviously again. Just I think I've got a picture of it. It'll come up in a minute. But he's just basically got his face up against like the wire mesh cage, and he's just bleeding. He's just like hanging on right onto the cage. Yeah, both guys obviously knew what they wanted to do, and they delivered. So it is a very good match.
Yeah, I really recommend. In fact, I recommend that you get Jack Bennett on this to have a bit of a chat with him at some point about his experience in Japan, because I think he has some genuinely really interesting stories that I think you'd love to hear.
He is somebody that I've kind of always wanted to. Since I've seen him at NCW, I was like, I want to message him. And then I kind of looked into him. I looked at his sort of history, and I was like, it's somebody I would definitely love to talk to at some point. So
I say go for it. I say go for it. I mean, I first met him at Kumite, and I'd been vaguely aware of who he was because I knew he'd gone over to he'd had a match in Japan, which I think it was either Maxwell or Hardman Dan who mentioned him to me. And when I met him at Kumite, I just shook his hand. I figured, all right, he might have an interesting match, but it wasn't until afterwards when he did. I realized that he'd done like the whole syringe through the hand spot and all of the like nasty like spots like that involving in his match with Gonzalez, which to date I think is probably one of the most sickest matches it's probably the most sickest matches on the cards that I've ever seen, and he's only done even worse. Well, I say worse. He's done even more gruesome spots since then. It's like, bloody hell, man! Do you have any limits? Honestly, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what his career looks like in the future.
Right, I'll not up or shut up, and I will send him a message at some point. Inviting.
Genuinely,
but yeah,
good dude.
From Japan, I believe we are now back into lovely Leeds.
Yes, we're going back into Leeds, into the Howl Bar, which is about 10-15 minutes away from the train station, if I recall correctly. And yes, I was actually on the show, would you believe? But the match wasn't anything to really write home about. I think I literally I got beaten up for about like 5 minutes, and then I got suplexed through television by Danny O'Doherty. But this particular match I thought I would to include because it's fun because it involves someone that I genuinely like. Well, two people I genuinely like, should I say? And also because there's no way that I couldn't include this match, because it's one of the few matches that I've actually had to pause when watching it back, because Myles' dad, or as most the fans watching this will know, Wing Commander Nash, is genuinely one of the most hilarious people that you will ever meet in your entire life.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to make a segue on this stuff, but if you want an idea of just how hilarious Myles is, as not even like inside the ring, but outside the ring, keep in mind that the character that you see when he's in the ring, that's how he is outside the ring. I'm not even joking. Like, there was a show like this. I think it was a True Grit show that I was at, and he like both me. It was out in the parking lot, and it was me, B.A. Rose, and Jet Marshall. 3 people who are the most deadly serious people that you can probably think of, inside and maybe outside the ring as well. And then Myles' dad, Wing Commander Nash, drives up in his new red car. I can't forget which model it is, but he drives up and parks, and then he comes out, and then it was either me or it was BA, one of the two. We asked him how he was, and that one question started this 45-minute long scree of weaponized autism, which started with Myles complaining about this new car that he apparently bought that he thought looked like a Pokemon ball. And then it somehow ended in a discussion about whether or not I think he was discussing like whether or not batteries could be used as explosives for a suicide vest. And in between that, it was just a surreal drug vision of constant, complaining and gesturing and things like that. And me, BA, and Jet, we just couldn't stop laughing at intermittent periods. It's like he'd rehearsed this and created some sort of comedy, like stand-up comedy sketch. I have no idea. The thing is, that's not the first time he's done that. It's not the first time he's done it. He constantly keeps doing this stuff and he tops himself every single time. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how his family even functions. But I will say this about Wing Commander Nash, and this is the God honest truth. He is a walking antidepressant. I've come to shows where I've been absolutely fucking miserable, like down in the fucking dump, like Black Dog Day level miserable. And then I need to only have a 5 to 10 minute conversation with Myles, Nash about literally anything, and somehow he will he'll just kind of make everything think, yeah, life's not that bad. Come on, let's get on with it. But enough about Nash and the awesomeness that he is as a person. Let's get on to the match.
I will say, said though, I fully agree with that. I love Nash. I think he's awesome. Obviously, Nathan is an amazing human being. So I'll always give love when love is possible to Nash. But yeah, this match is just. It starts off with a dad joke. It starts off with
yeah. Oh, I probably should have mentioned. This bar show wasn't actually a ticketed. Well, it technically was a ticketed event, but it was put on after a certain incident, which we mentioned earlier about that certain promotion in CM that got a lot of shows cancelled because some dickhead thought it was a good idea to do deathmatch spots in a match at a family-friendly show. And so Danny O'Doherty, being, he put the show on here at the last minute for the benefit of the fans who had bought a ticket to the show. I believe he was going to do. I believe it was either the week afterwards or it was a week leading up to it. Either way, he put this on last minute, literally for the benefit of the fans who had bought tickets. And I believe there was only 2 or 3 matches on it, but what it was good. So yeah, I included this one because let's be honest with ourselves. We knew what we were getting, and it was a fun match.
I can't even really talk about it too much. It was just like I said. It was not carnage. It was just chaotic. That's the word I'm looking for. It's as you would expect. Nash being involved. He starts off, I'll say, on the ladder. Got the higher ground. We then get rock, paper, scissors. We then get a little scuffle. We get a thrown umbrella. We get some Coca-Cola squirted in his face. We then have an arm wrestle. We then get taken outside onto the streets. Nash nearly gets thrown in front of a bus.
Thrown under the bus, literally, in this case.
That's the job. Puts on a helmet, climbs up a ladder. It's just, I can't even imagine being on that bit when he's on the ladder with the helmet. There's a bus stopped behind them. I can only imagine what people on the bus must have been thinking.
And it was a main road of Leeds as well. I'm genuinely surprised that the police didn't show up. But then again, that would have just made it even more hilarious. The most memorable part for me was when Heidi was just losing her fucking. She was losing her shit. She was trying to get a serious match as they were doing the arm wrestle thing, and she was telling you quiet and no, or that will happen. And then Nash was like, "Well, what? You'll turn into the Undertaker."
You've done it.
That was a moment where I had to literally pause the video just to stop my ribs from exploding.
Seriously. yeah, just go and watch this match. It's just, you know what to expect. And if you don't know what to expect, watch it, be thoroughly surprised, entertained, and just, yeah, recharge your soul. You know, as you sort of said, Nash, whether it's on screen or in person, just has that effect. So, but yeah, after this, we would get what I would class as being a more what people expect from Rhines. It's this. I had no idea what to expect from this. I was kind of like, obviously, the description was a no-ring rumble. Obviously, in my head, I'm like, how the fuck do you have a no-ring rumble? Obviously, it's pinfalls. I figured that out when people started pinning each other. I was like, okay. Yeah, this again, just beautiful carnage.
If there was ever a match that embodies the spirit and theme of Rise, it's this. It's utter chaos. Absolute, utter chaos. And I will tell you this, it was definitely experienced for the live audience. Like, there was always something going on. Like, there's no pause in between the spots. It's just like one spot, with an all-star cast of everyone who was in Rise at the time. And yeah, it's half an hour of just complete chaos that it's something that has to be seen to be believed. And I'll be honest, I think that it was also for the to crown the final hardcore champion of Rise, because I believe this was at the point where they were transitioning from, okay, we have a hardcore title, but we want to have like a deathmatch title that's going to like establish the fact that we are Europe's like #1 deathmatch promotion. So this was basically going to be like, okay, this is the last hardcore champion that's ever going to be here before we move on to new things. And honestly, I think the best man won.
Yes, definitely. Oh god, yeah, Uncle Deathmatch. I just want to shout out. It's always good to see Diablo as well. Always happy to see him turn up in anything that I'm watching. There was one bit in this as well that just completely blew my mind. It wasn't wrestling related. Again, I don't know, obviously, you know, if anybody knows what I'm talking about or spotted it, or there's a bit where there's a dude in a wheelchair and there's a wrestler going towards him and he pushes himself back with his feet. I'm like, I just see that. Some dude in a wheelchair just pushes himself.
Yeah, I think we know who that is. Shout out to you, Joe. Have a good one.
Oh, is it?
He's been a mainstay at like Rise and a lot of other promotions for a very long while, and he is an awesome dude. I can't say enough good things about him.
It just, you know, when you see something, I was like, did I just see that? But it was just, even the commentator was just like, I have no idea what to call in this match. You know, there's stuff going on here, stuff going on here. There's mannequins, you know, there's people getting slapped with a mannequin hand or arm. It was just, I mean, some of the names, you know, we mentioned Big Fucking Joe, B.A. Rose. You mentioned him earlier, Iceman and Iceman's son, as he's obviously still early in his career at this point. So, what about him just having made his debut at Rise? Jack, obviously,
Jack Harrop, yeah.
Yep. Dara Dablo turns up. Caden. I'm trying to think of some of the other names. That it's just that many people.
Heidi Katrina was also in this one.
Yeah, because she sat playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nixon turned up again.
Like I said, it's an all-star cast.
It's all Brett Semtex. You know, there was that whole spot. You know, one of my favorite moments in this was Brett Semtex and Big Effing Joe just kind of doing the brawl, the sitting down bit, and they're just punching each other in the face, having a drink, having a punch, and yeah, it had everything you would expect it to have, minus, you know, a ring, obviously.
Well, there you go.
I
don't think we can say much else other than, you know, go see it.
Go watch it, enjoy it. But for me, not save the best till last. You know, I think every match has been different and of sort of equal quality. But this one I was looking forward to seeing, just because, again, Big Effing Joe's in there, but my boy Alton is in it as well. And it was the debut show for Kumite as well. It's where it all started.
Yeah, Yeah, I wanted to include this one because I wasn't quite sure what the order to put these matches in, but I definitely wanted to include this one because Kumite has like stood by me for quite a long while, and I have a really, really like much love and respect for Matt and Fletch for every show that they've put on, and for being really, really, really good people, and not just to me, but to everyone who's ever worked on their shows and to the fans as well. I can't say enough good things. Can't say enough good things about. And I can't say enough good things about Alton Thorne either. Like he's gone, like for a guy who's not only been doing this for a very short while, he's gone from strength to strength to the point where I mean I don't want to like disparage Rise or anything like that, but Alton has kind of like proved that you don't need to be in Rise in order to be known as like one of the best deathmatch wrestlers in the United Kingdom right now. But as a record, at least to the best of my knowledge at the time of this recording, he's only done 2 matches for Rise, and both of them were Rumbles, I think. I was involved in one of them, I know. Actually, yeah, I was involved in one of them, and yeah, he's a guy that knows his shit, and he learned from the best. Styx, heavyweight House of Pain, who I have like I honestly think I had one of my best matches with him about 10 years ago, and even today, I still think of it as like one of my better moments in wrestling. Like outside of any of like the hardcore deathmatch type stuff that I've done, um, just the straight wrestling for him is like he just knows what he's doing, and you can kind of see a lot of Styx's influence in Alton, which um, you can kind of see in this match, but you can also see in a lot of his other matches. So yeah, this was, as I said before, this was Kumite's first event, and it was Alton's first death match as well. A bit of interesting trivia. There's actually a documentary that was made by Deathmatch Outlaws, the company, which was run by Danny Douglas. Shout out to Danny Douglas, by the way. That's another guy you should definitely interview at some point. Um, yeah, the documentary was basically about Big Joe having 3 matches in the space of 2 days, 2 of them being death matches. I believe what had happened is he worked on that weekend. He'd worked a family-friendly show in Great Yarmouth, where he lives, which is like once on one side of the country. He then travelled all the way to Liverpool, and that's I think it's at least like a 4.5 hour car journey, where he worked a deathmatch with Clint Majera for TNT Extreme, and then he got into his car, still bleeding, and drove all the way to Derby, which is, I believe, about a 2 hour car journey, 2.5 hour car journey, I think. Maybe around that, I forget which. But he then, after he parked, he got out of his car, still in his wrestling gear, which, as we know, is just at the time was just a shirt, a tie, his tighty whities, his Air Force boots, a bag of gimmicks, and a machete around his neck. How he didn't get arrested in the middle of Derby at night wearing just that, I have no idea. But yeah, he was a little bit late to the venue. But yeah, Darko and Alton put on a really stellar match at that Pop World in Derby, and yeah, that just set the ball rolling for Kumite.
I believe I believe Joe got there about 10 minutes before the match. They had a chance to talk about the start. They had a chance to talk about the end. Anything in the middle just totally worked. 3 guys who knew their shit, knew what to do, just made magic, just impromptu on the fly. And yeah, I kind of got the feeling, I think the commentary team kind of touched on this, where they kind of made Alton pay his dues, because both Darko and obviously Big Joe were part of Deathmatch Outlaws. They reference it that they are a team in other promotions as well, kind of thing. So at points, it's just like both of them are just whacking Alton and just being like, "Welcome to our world. Have this." It's just like, oh.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old. I mean, to be fair, both Joe and Darko came in around the mid 2000s, I believe, around 2005. Might be misremember the exact date, but back in those days, especially in the Norwich territory, where they're both from. They do things old school there. There's a lot of there was a lot of skirting. I don't know if it still does that now, but skirting does happen. It happened to me when I first started out, so it just happens. Take your licks, get over it.
Yeah, not in a bad way. It's just kind of.
It's nothing. It's never anything personal. Like it's just like, right, this business is really fucking hard. We don't need any pussies here. Do what you do. Take your licks. Show you're tough.
That's it. The spot with the shopping trolley, and the light tubes at the front of the shopping trolley, and he just pushes them into the barrier, and the tubes just.
Definitely didn't regret it, because it only took him about like maybe 2.5 years. He was a double champion after that point.
There we go. You see, the man did good. Big Joe as well. With was it in this or was it the Rise? I'm sure it's this one. Where Big Joe just breaks up a pinfall with the nunchucks, and it's just a really random sight to see Big F and Joe with a pair of nunchucks, and then they vanish.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a Kumite, I think. So I have seen, like, every now and then, whenever I've gone to Kumite and I've looked at like the stack of gimmicks that Matt and Fletch bring, there is a set of nunchucks there, and I've always kind of wondered if I should use those in a match, but I don't know. I think I'm not saying I wouldn't. I know how to. I kind of. Well, I'm not saying I know how to use them, but when I was a child, I actually had a pair of nunchucks. I was doing like all sorts of like divvy shit that with trying to do like flips and because I was a big Bruce Lee mark at the time, but I've not practiced those for a while. But if I'm gonna go on to another Kumite show and I see those nunchucks again, fuck me, I'm gonna get some use out of them.
Yes. The crazy ass contraption that did not want to break, like the cuboid of like light tubes and obviously like masking tape, and they must have thrown it at Alton 2 or 3 times before it actually broke. Poor Alton's just like taking it on his back. But yeah, it's like just a cube of just destruction that didn't break.
Yeah, there's always those bloody things that for some reason they just don't want to work with you. But at least, I would love it. I will say this. I would love it at some point for someone to just completely lose their shit with a gimmick and just be kind of like, especially if it's like a table or a door or something like that, and be like, you listen to me. I'm whoever it is. You're just a fucking door. Do your fucking job.
No,
yeah, just go full on Rick Mail up with it,
No, forget Rick Mail, man. I'm totally getting Faulty Towers. I'm just getting the car breaking down. Basil walking off and just coming back with a.
I could see Nash doing that if he ever gets booked in a match and the door doesn't seem to break. He'd be kind of like, "You damn bloody! I will give you a damn good thrashing."
Right, yes.
Nathan, I'm just giving you ideas. Don't steal them, please, or at least save them until we work another match.
Dude, if anybody's going to waterboard you with holy water, it's got to be Nash. That's right.
Someone book that, please.
But then obviously open the doors. We had the spot. Alton puts Darko, reverses Darko's attempt, puts Darko through the door. And then Big F and Joe puts Alton through this gnarly contraption of like barbed wire. And that's match done. But it's a hell of a way to end a match. That was a good looking spot.
Yep, save the best till last.
Which you should do. But again, I think by this point I'd watched so many matches, I wasn't even really noticing that there wasn't a ring. It was just more, I was just appreciating everything that everybody was doing. We've talked about it before, but I've spoken to people who, like, when the top rope's broken or something's gone amiss, or like say the ring's not there, it's crazy because as wrestlers, you guys, you use the ring to kind of gauge your movement. You kind of know obviously where you are, and I don't think we haven't really talked about it, is just how alien it must be when there isn't a ring and you don't have like the turnbuckle as a marker or the rope as a marker. to move around.
Yeah, I've only ever done one no ring match at the time of this recording, but yeah, it can be a little bit disconcerting. Or I wouldn't say disconcerting. It's kind of like it can throw you off, especially because you're not walking on canvas. You don't have like that reassurance that, all right, if the guy lifts me up and slams me, it's not going to hurt quite as much because you're invariably getting slammed on concrete, which sucks.
As hard as the ring can be, it's no ring.
Hard as the ring can be, fucking hell. It's fucking concrete. I mean, I've taken concrete bumps, in matches. Not hardcore matches. I've never done a concrete bump outside of in a hardcore match. I don't think, or at least to the best of my recollection. But yeah, the ones that I have done weren't pleasant. So yeah, just like I said, just to get back onto the point. Yeah, it does mess with your it messes with your cadence a little bit. But once you realize, okay, we're just going from point A to point B to point C to point D, and we're just improvising a lot of stuff in between that, then you just fall back on the training, and you just kind of improvise it from there.
But dude, yeah, again, massive shout out to the Kumite, massive shout out to these three guys. Absolutely nailed it. Loved this match. But shout out to everybody that we've mentioned, in all of these matches, because this definitely ain't ballet. Every single one of these matches has been mental in its own crazy way. And just, everybody deserves much love for putting themselves through this more than anything.
Yeah, I do. I will address some of the criticisms for no ring matches. Yeah, I can kind of understand that some people kind of view no ring matches as being somewhat of a novelty, and they're not exactly something that should be done on the regular. Which I can understand the argument, but sometimes you do need to break from the norm a little bit, and obviously this isn't an excuse for promotions to go out there and start promoting shows with no rings, because there's plenty of my friends out there who actually do have a ring business that would lose out on quite a lot of money if everyone just decided not to have any rings for their shows. That's a hint, by the way. Actually, it's not so much a hint as it is a party political broadcast. But no excuse for not having a ring for your shows. Yeah, I can understand there can be a bit of a novelty, but they're actually really fun to watch. And I mean, most of the people that I know are kind of okay with them.
Like I said,
you don't have to bump quite as much. Let's put it that way.
That's very true. I wouldn't want to watch it all the time. Like I said, I wouldn't want to sort of see if a promotion ran 6 shows in a year and they wanted to do one show as a no ring one, as a novelty, or as kind of a get your attention, I'd be okay with that. But if they did every show as a no ring one, I'd be like, no, that's, you're taking away the variety kind of thing. You need that variety, you need that sort of mixture of stuff. But I'm definitely interested to watch more matches like this. That's my closing point. Is I thoroughly enjoyed these, and I would be well up for watching more of them.
Like we said at the start, no ring, no problem.
Dude, and on that note, I think that is the perfect way to wrap this episode up. So, as always, I will say, where can people find you? Let them know your socials, where they can see what you're up to, get some links for some merch, do whatever they need to do.
I'm on most social media, on Instagram, Twitter X, excuse me. Just check me out, Radu_Bulat or Radu Bulat, all one word. And just keep supporting the scene, support what you love.
Have you got anything coming up with Super Pro?
Sorry, okay?
Have you got anything coming up with Super Pro?
We'll have to see about that, won't we? But we'll see. We'll see about anything. We'll see about everything else. There is a couple of matches that are coming up to next month for Kmart and for a few other places. So I guess we'll see each other down the line, and well, everything else that might happen this year. Well, we'll have to wait until it gets announced.
Yes. Try to get sneaky exclusive never works. But yeah, obviously, we will tag Mr. Radu in the posts when this gets uploaded. If you're not following him, please give him a follow, show some support. As he says, go show some support for what you love, for your local promotion, for any shows around you. Check them out. It's an amazing scene, and it's what we're here for. We're here to hype up, British wrestling as a whole. So yeah, go watch, enjoy. As always, I will say thank you for watching. Hit like, subscribe, share, comment, all the generic stuff we ask you to do. And yeah, we will see you again very, very soon. We are back tomorrow, or in a few days when it gets unloaded, probably, with Royally Rumbled, myself, DJ King, and Bobby Cash. We'll be talking in the 1993 Rumble. So yeah, until then, remember, always work the left side. Goodbye.
Bye.